and you give yourself permission to have your own success formula and you stick with it, that's what's going to make you successful. And it's going to be so much easier to be consistent with your action taking with that definition of success. Hey yo, what's up? My name is Nat and I am your mindset coach, here to support you in shifting your internal world so that you're showing up that much more powerfully in your external world. Today we're talking about motivation. And when you don't feel like doing stuff in your business, how do you keep moving forward? How do we really shift into being motivated? I know that motivation is a really common and a hot topic. And some people say motivation's overrated, whereas other people say it's something that can be shifted and really utilized in a wonderful, consistent way in your business. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. You guys will get my input and you'll also get a couple of tools in your toolbox to connect with how to move forward most consistently and efficiently in your business. But before we do that, make sure to watch the last mindset call that I posted. I'll go ahead and I'll tag it right up here. Every single week, you guys can expect a new mindset teaching from me. So make sure that you are subscribed if you aren't, and make sure to catch last week's replay if you haven't already. But let's go ahead, let's dive into today. So motivation. Super common in your business to go through inconsistencies of action taking. And there are days where you don't feel like doing what you need to do in your business, and other days where you're so productive, you're so connected to what you're doing, and you're so consistent with it. So why is it that we have those ups and downs, and how can we go ahead and navigate them? How can we go ahead and make sure we're still doing what we need to do in our business? So first thing that I would recommend if you're struggling with motivation in your business and the inconsistencies of action taking is make sure you're connected to your why. A lot of us lose sight of the big picture of why we started this business. A lot of us lose sight of why it is that we're doing what we're doing, who motivates us, and the big picture of things. It's very easy to get trapped in the small day-to-day things like marketing, emails, content, posting, messaging, all of that. It's very easy to get lost in the little things. And those things can feel a little bit monotonous. And in those things, we often lose sight of why we're doing the big things, or why we're aiming for the big things. And so make sure you're reconnecting to why you started this business, why it is that you're doing this, who it's for, and the bigger why behind your business. It'll make it so much easier to do those little monotonous things that you're not really a big fan of. One thing that I ask most of my clients a lot of the time is, when's the last time that you reminded yourself of your why? And after a few months working with me, they do it quite consistently, but the new clients, not so often. They lose sight of it. And just really being motivated by a big picture why in your business makes it so much easier to be consistent and to keep going. So that's the first one. Second thing that I would recommend when you're struggling with motivation in your business and you're struggling with inconsistencies of action taking is make sure that you're really reevaluating what your definition of success is. A lot of people think that the only way to build a successful business is if you're hustling and grinding and working all day, every day in your business, sacrificing time with family, sacrificing your relationships, sacrificing your health, sacrificing sleep to a certain degree. And that's the only way to build success. And if you think that those are the things necessary to be successful, and those things are quite challenging, then chances are you're not going to consistently do those things, because that's a lot and that's exhausting. And who wants to lose sleep forever? Who wants to be disconnected from their relationships and their community forever? Not me. And so when we really decide a new definition of success and we make things non-negotiable, like community, like sleep, like taking care of ourselves, and we see those going hand in hand with our success, and when we see those things as supporting us, and if they support us, then they support our business, then it's so much easier to be consistent with our action taking in our business, because we're not sacrificing ourselves in the process. We're not sacrificing our mental health. We're not sacrificing our relationships. And so when you really shift your perspective on what it takes to be successful, and you give yourself permission to have your own success formula, and you stick with it, that's what's going to make you successful. And it's going to be so much easier to be consistent with your action taking with that definition of success. So that's the second piece of advice I would recommend. Third piece of advice I'd recommend if you're struggling with motivation is make sure that you're celebrating the little wins. I know celebrating can feel a little, celebrating can feel a little silly sometimes. Celebrating can feel like, oh, it's stupid. Why should I celebrate? Or I don't deserve to celebrate myself. But it's not just something that I encourage because I'm telling you to do it and you should listen to me. I don't want you guys to actually do anything just because I say. I want you to do it because it resonates with you, because it really feels like it lands with your heart and your intuition. But I want you to know that when we celebrate the small wins along the journey of reaching those big goals that we set for ourselves, we're teaching our brain how to secrete small amounts of dopamine. And when our brain's secreting small amounts of dopamine, that has a really positive effect on our physiology. It helps us be more focused. It helps us be more efficient. It helps us with elevating our mood. And there's a lot of other different physiological benefits to that. But celebrating little wins, there's actually science behind it. The brain secretes small amounts of dopamine, and that helps us to keep going, even when we don't feel like it, even when it feels like things aren't working how we want them to, even when it's a slow season. Celebrating the small wins helps our brain secrete small amounts of dopamine. So make sure that you're celebrating those small wins, not just because it feels good, but because it actually is having a positive effect on your brain. And what you're tapping into there is a deeper level of inherent motivation that not a lot of people are capitalizing on. So go ahead and utilize that as well. And then finally, the final piece of advice that I would recommend for you to take if you're struggling with motivation is really just see working on your business as a commitment that you've made to yourself. Just like you've made a commitment to brush your teeth every night before bed, even when you don't feel like it, because you know it's good for your oral health and also your gut health, you still do it, even when you don't feel like it, because you know that it's good for you and it's in line with your long-term goals, not in line with your short-term excuses and your short-term attitude. I also like to obviously make sure practically that I'm doing things that make it easier to uphold those commitments. So for example, have my toothbrush and my toothpaste, everything laid out, my 5-step skincare routine, everything laid out. I'm practically doing the things to make it easier to make those commitments. And so in our businesses, we get to do the same. We get to make sure that we are optimizing our time. If you're not a super early bird, don't wake up at 4 a.m. to make sure that you're honoring your commitments. Make sure that you're waking up at a time that works best for you, and you're honoring your commitments when you're energized, when you're awake, when works best for you. So last piece of advice if you're struggling with motivation is just really see the action taking in your business as small commitments that you're making for yourself, and opportunities for building self-trust. And then also just make sure you're making it easier on yourself, the way you're setting up your day to make it even easier to uphold those commitments. As always, you guys know where to find me. If you have any questions, if there's ever a topic that's specific to what you want to hear more about, please don't hesitate to reach out either on Instagram or on Facebook or down in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. And as always, if you're ready for some next level support, you can go ahead and check out different programs that I have down in the notes. You can also go ahead and apply for one-on-one coaching that is also available to you guys. Have an amazing rest of your week. I'm so proud of you for doing this work, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.